cracks emerging in a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, barely a week into the deal. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warns the fight in Gaza is not over yet, vowing to secure the return of all hostages. Now, despite the ceasefire, 2 Palestinian civilians have reportedly been killed in Israeli attacks. Mr. Netanyahu's comments come a day after his defense minister threatened to resume fighting if Hamas fails to honor the terms of the deal. The group has handed over only 9 out of 28 known deceased hostages, saying it needs more time and special recovery equipment to recover the rest. The holdup could delay the implementation of the next phase of the truce and affect the flow of aid into Gaza. And for more, Blake Sifton is tracking the story for CNA from Tel Aviv. Now, Blake, this row over the return of the deceased hostages is also leading to uncertainty over the reopening of the Rafah crossing. So what does this mean for the flow of aid into the enclave?
Good evening, Angela. The Israeli government is accusing Hamas of purposely delaying the return of hostage bodies. Of course, as you say, Hamas are saying that they've retrieved all the bodies they can. Now, yesterday, 2 Trump administration officials spoke to the media on a wide range of topics on the ceasefire, and they said that Hamas is meeting its obligations, that it will take time to retrieve the bodies, and that international teams will very likely need to assist with that process. Today, we heard from the umbrella group that represents the family members of the hostages who are in Gaza, who have been held in Gaza, and they are telling the Israeli government that they want Israel to stop honoring its obligations under the ceasefire until the bodies are brought back from Gaza. One of those obligations is, of course, the increase in aid flowing into Gaza. Now, over the last few days, the Israeli government had threatened that they would slow aid into Gaza and they would not open the Rafah crossing because Hamas was not returning the bodies. Over the last 2 days, we've seen the return of 5 more bodies, and the Israeli government walked back that threat. Now, the Rafah crossing was expected to open today. Of course, Rafah is the key conduit between Egypt and Gaza, and up until a year and a half ago, when it was shut indefinitely, it was a major entry point for aid into Gaza. Now, we're expecting it to open today for pedestrian traffic. However, now the Israeli military says that it will open and they're preparing to open it, but there's no date yet for when that will happen. And after it was open for pedestrian traffic, we understood it would open for truck traffic, for aid to enter Gaza. And the Israeli military has said today that that's not the case, that was not part of the deal, and that aid will not enter Gaza via Rafah. Despite that, we understand there are hundreds of trucks waiting at the border to get in on the Egyptian side of Rafah.
Now, the humanitarian situation aside, we're also hearing reports of Palestinians being killed in Israeli attacks across Gaza today, and that's despite a truce being in effect. What can you tell us about that?
That's right. So there's been 2 incidents in 2 separate areas today. Nasser hospital officials in Khan Yunis say that a Palestinian was killed in a drone strike in Khan Yunis. And then in the central area of Gaza, medics say that Israeli forces killed another person there. Now, the Israeli military has denied any involvement in or awareness of the drone strike in Khan Yunis, but they have repeatedly warned Palestinians to stay away from what's called the yellow line. This is the area, the line, at which Israeli forces have withdrawn to. We need to remember that they're still in control of some 53% of Gaza, and the area they control basically wraps around the area where Palestinians are allowed to be. Earlier this week, the military acknowledged killing 6 Palestinians they said had crossed the yellow line. Others, locals, said that no, they only approached it, and that when locals get anywhere near these Israeli lines, that they are fired on. Of course, we need to remember that many people live in this area. So incidents like this and a few days ago really do show that despite the ceasefire, the situation remains very violent, very dangerous, and very fragile.
Blake, thank you so much for bringing us the latest. That was Blake Sifton live in Tel Aviv.